want to subscribe to the International Forecaster. You need to. If you aren't getting it, twice a week. It's about 30 pages, and it's absolutely crammed full of information that you need to make intelligent decisions about how to maintain any money that you have left, about where to go, and about what's happening in the world. This is the real deal. You can call 877-479-8178. I'll give you that a little bit later. Get your pencil out on that, because I'll give you that number. www.theinternationalforecaster.com, theinternationalforecaster.com, or go up to erskineonradio.com because it's hyperlinked. Theinternationalforecaster.com. Now, if you've got that pencil, let me give you the number. 877, that's toll free, 877-479-8178, 479-8178. 479-8178. Do yourself a favor and subscribe, because you've heard what's happening. Mr. Chapman was telling you 2 years in advance of what was going to happen. He called what was happening, the recession, depression. He called that a long time before it started, way before anybody else talked about it. He's calling today that's happening in May. We started with inflation. He called that in May. Now, you go to the grocery store and you tell me, do we have inflation? You betcha. You get a Social Security check, you won't know it because they aren't going up. But everything that we use, the normal folks in America use, is going up in value. It's going up in price, rather. We have inflation. And he called it in May. Nobody else is talking about it, Mr. Chapman. Nobody else is talking about inflation. You've also got an article in this week's that we aren't going to have a chance to get to about the Barrick Gold and the Bronfmans and the Marcus Gold. That article is absolutely incredible. I'm going to whet the people's appetites for it, because if you call in, you call 877-479-8178, ask for the issue that has the information about the Barrick Gold, and Mr. Chapman will send it to you, because that article blows the lid off of what these elitists are doing. It's incredible, Mr. Chapman.
Well, it's been there for a long time. I've written about it, and my first article was in Bull and Bear in August of 1988, and as it turns out, not only were they hedging at the request of the United States government, and incidentally, that information was brought out in interrogatories in a lawsuit filed by a coin company in Louisiana that was settled out of court. We don't know what the numbers were, but it was settled, and Barrick said that they were acting on orders from the U.S. government. So they have been an appendage of the U.S. government for some time, and they also were involved in the laundering.
One thing that people need to know, this also ties into 9/11.
Yes, it does, and we get into that as well, and there's other things that we get into that people just don't know about and they've never even heard about. But Barrick had been the bad guys, the leader of the bad pack, if you may, and now they've just thrown in the towel and covered, they say it's all of their hedges, which is actually shorting gold, betting it's going to go down. And they say that the price is now going to go up. Well, I get news for them. Ever since they started hedging, gold has gone up from $252 an ounce to $1,025 an ounce, $1,030. And so that's nothing new. The only reason they did what they did was to suppress the gold price in behalf, working for, in congruity with the United States government. And Mr. Monk has a very interesting background, and if you'd like to read about it, we wrote about it because he's a criminal. And it's just plain and simple. But, you know, our government and other governments are criminal as well, so I guess they get along pretty well together. But getting back to the FDIC insurance, there really isn't any insurance. Because if we had 32 to 4,200 banks go under, from the beginning of last year through the next 5 or 6 years, then there wouldn't be enough money to cover them all. The money would have to be printed, and that would cause massive inflation because it would be monetized immediately. And so many people are not going to get paid off. So if you get CDs, get rid of them, go into gold and silver-related assets. Keep 3 months' supply of money in the bank to pay your bills, no more. If you get a business, 6 months. If you get cash value life insurance policies and annuities, most all of them except mutual insurance companies, the rest of them in the stock companies, that's all they own is stock. And if the market goes down, you're going to take a hit again, just like you did up until March of this year. And the market is going to go back down again. And so this is where Americans are. And the reason I tell you all these things is if you want ultimate protection, you've got to be in gold and silver related assets. If you're not, you're going to get hurt. You've already seen that in real estate.
Ultimate protection, gold and silver.
We haven't even hit bottom.
Gold and silver, and we haven't even hit bottom. Take that and save yourself, because this is about economic survival. That's what we're talking about. That's why you want the International Forecaster. It's called the International Forecaster. There are articles here on the U.S., of course, England, Mexico, China. Did you know China had a record surge of record 90% surge in passenger car sales? Unbelievable. Japan, Australia, New Zealand. And you also have some health tips. Very quickly, first off, what about the swine flu? I think that we're going to have some people on talking about it today, and I have a major problem with taking that swine flu vaccine that they may be mandating. Any comments on that? Because you also talk about health issues in the International Forecaster.
Well, you read my health section twice a week, so you know what I think of it. And I think what the government is doing, first of all, they created the swine flu, just like
yes.
they did the so-called Spanish flu in 1918. And they experimented with them on our military people, made them guinea pigs, and they're doing the same thing right now and have been for the last 3 months at selected locations, both here, overseas, and on shipboard, too. We have stories of ships being quarantined, shut down, everybody given a shot, and then 20% of them get sick with the swine flu. And the reason why is that I think that they're going to give out shots this coming month, and I think they're going to be seeded with about 20% of the people who get a live virus, so they'll get ill, and that's what they're up to. This is a beta test. This is a trial run for these people in biological warfare, and they're going to use it if they can to create a situation for martial law as well. I expect more than half of Americans will refuse to take the shots, and anybody who takes them is an idiot. I mean, if you read the stuff that we publish by eminent people in the medical field, in the biological and chemical field all over the world, you'll understand that. And I certainly wouldn't take it, even if it meant death anyway, because, you know, you're going to go down no matter which way you cut it. But don't take the shots, especially children, especially young people. They're the most vulnerable. And the third group would be elderly people like myself, and then the people from, say, 30 to 60 years old are probably the least vulnerable. But it's a scam, and it's going to happen at the same time that the dollar's going to test 71.18. The dollar was down again today. It's around 76.25. We're going to 71.18. There's going to be a currency crisis. It won't be major, but it'll cause a lot of problems. And in the meantime, gold and silver will go up, and I think the stock market will make a correction as well. And so that's what we got to look forward to over the next month.
It's going to be a heck of a month. This is going to be a very difficult time to make it through. Nevada replaced Tennessee for the most bankruptcy. Filings were up 22%. And January through August, 954,911 bankruptcies. Incredible. Subscribe to the International Forecaster. That number once again, 877 479-8178. We'll be right back with Alexandra Rain, author of Deeds of Trust, story that you have to hear. Mr. Chapman, thank you for putting out the International Forecaster and for being on, and best wishes to Judy.
Thank you very much, and I'll see you next month.
Yes, sir. We'll be right back on Erskine Overnight with